that we have within our business for people who would like exposure to working with children in the OSH space, which is out of school hours care. Firstly, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land of which I'm on today, which is the Whadjuk people. And I would like to pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. That picture there is actually what I'm wearing, my t-shirt. That's one of our shirts that our OSH and ELC students, workers wear while they're on site. It was designed specifically for us from an elder, and that was from the Bagot community in Northern Territory. So it's, yes, a beautiful picture, and yeah, very sentimental to our organisation. So like I said, I just wanted to have a chat with you about working in the OSH industry. You know, when people think of out of school hours care, they typically think of, people who are studying teaching, but in the Northern Territory, it is actually open to a lot more degrees and a lot more experience and qualifications than just teaching degrees. As a CEQA is quite open-ended with who can work in an OSH setting, we kind of look at all different disciplines. So we look at students that are particularly studying degrees in education or social work, youth work, or even other niche child-related fields. When we have applicants and candidates who apply for these roles, they are generally interested in working with children, and that's the biggest plus for us, is that you are already interested in working with children and on your way to make a meaningful difference in what you're studying as well. So some of our services have younger children, so they are aged 4 years old, and they would be, I don't know if you call it kindy in Northern Territory, but in WA we call it kindy. So the ratios for those children are a little bit different, and those children typically need somebody who's studying early childhood education. If you are studying to be an early childhood teacher and you have completed 3/4 of your degree, you can be counted as a diploma qualified educator for those children. But typically the age group is between 5 and 12 years old. So people with primary, or who are studying primary school education or high school education, they are pretty ideal candidates, but there's other peripheral occupations that we can utilize the skills that you're learning from uni. So we even have had nurses that we've hired to work in OSHs. We've had students who are studying psychology, like I've said before, youth work, social work, and those sorts of things as well. Anybody who really wants to, I suppose, their end goal after they finish university is to be working with children, an OSH placement or an OSH job on your resume will always fare well, because you've had that experience with children. So when you are studying any kind of social services or education degree, that coursework is going to help you while you're working in OSH. So you'll be able to make meaningful relationships with the children, so you can practice kind of reaching out to all sorts of different children from linguistically diverse backgrounds or potentially those with disabilities, low socioeconomic communities. A lot of the time, OSH can be a safe space for those children. So that will give you experience to a wide group of children that have all different kind of well-being and educational needs. You can also learn through play-based and child-directed learning, which really builds those relationships with children. Um, Unlike traditional classroom settings, I suppose OSH is a bit more relaxed, and then you can become a trusted mentor, helping them navigate friendships, emotions, and self-expression. If you're looking at something like OT, like if you're studying occupational therapy, or even looking at being a support worker, this kind of work also helps with that. Um, it also allows you to play, with your creativity. There's a lot of chances to implement engaging activities, and that, I suppose, is really beneficial for those who are looking at social work, who are looking at, going into those teaching fields. You can gain that practice that you are learning in your coursework in the OSH space. Um, I've even had people who are working in like recreational, they're doing like a recreational certificate at TAFE or like a personal training certificate at TAFE. We've also had some of those people come on board and work with the OSH. They're doing a lot of sports with the children and things like that. So it's really so open-ended. We obviously, like I was touching on before, with the diverse backgrounds, you'll learn to be a bit have an inclusive space. How do you accommodate for everybody to make them feel safe and welcome? The early childhood sector and the OSH sector is rapidly expanding and changing all the time. So you'll have an opportunity to grow professionally while you're still learning. And the end of your degree, if you've got, those kinds of experiences on your resumes, it's really a bonus when a recruiter is shortlisting. You'll be kind of, at the top of the pile, so to say, against people who haven't had any experience with children. And a big part of the early childhood space is learning child safe practices. So recently in the news, there's been a lot of bad press, I suppose, about child safe organisations. Child Australia is very proud to be one of the advocates in the sector for child safe organisations. And we actually have a free webinar for anybody who's interested. I think it's next week. And that's a panel of experts from around the country talking about strategies for protecting children and protecting child safety. So that would be really good if you're looking at careers in social work, to join that. It's free, and I'll share the link. So if anyone's interested, they can then log on next week. So, like I said, with working in OSH, it will be a launch pad for your career. It will look great on your resume. It will give you exposure to children, but it's also giving you a lot of practical skills while you're learning your coursework as well. So it really gives you an opportunity to reinforce what you're learning in the real life context. And that could be from a range of things. If you're looking at social work and you've got a discipline of children or child development, you're probably looking at all sorts of units on child development and how children learn and things like that. So being able to do the coursework and then take that coursework and apply it in real life is very beneficial. Like I said, it builds confidence and employability. A really important skill that you'll learn is reflective practice, and that's kind of being able to connect your coursework, and I assume that most of you do like a prac experience within your degrees, and you'll probably be asked to reflect on, your experience that you've had in that kind of session. So when you work in OSH, you're also asked to do these kinds of skills. So it will be a good baseline for you to start building on those skills. And you'll also build a professional network of people who, they say it's not what you know, it's who you know. And I think that's I know in Darwin from recruiting for people, it's very, very true. Darwin is very small, like Perth. A lot of people in Perth know each other, but Darwin seems to be much smaller. So getting your name out, being in a positive manner, it really boosts your careers as well. I'm just going to touch briefly on, what Child Australia or why you would want to work here. We have, like I said, an expanding portfolio of early childhood centres and out-of-school care centres. We have opportunities for both paid or prac students. So if you're interested in prac as well, you can email. I've got an email address at the end of this slide. We can discuss, open to those kinds of opportunities as well. But Child Australia, we pay above award rates, so that's always a bonus for people in the industry. We have also just been approved for the early childhood wage retention allowance. So that came in December, and we've been fighting with the Department of Education to get our application over the line to ensure that we can pass on all those pay increases to our employees. So we've been approved now. So that will be is a pay rise again in December this year, on top of the already 5% that was given in December last year. We have pretty heavily discounted childcare fees. So if you have children, if you're a parent and you have children that require care, it's 85% discount, which is after what you would pay with the childcare subsidy. So it's a very minimal amount that you would need to pay if you required care. We have things like our EAP, and which is like a counselling service that we allow our childcare workers to contact, and wellness programs. It's not only just it's nutrition, it's financial advice, it's exercise physiology advice, so it's quite well-rounded. Like I said, we're advocates for the sector, so I think that, pushing for our early childhood retention allowance and, bringing things out like our child safe forum. Our CEO is very active in the advocacy space, so that's really something for us to be proud of. And we do have a lot of training and development. So we have a sector development team who go out into our services, and they provide a lot of varying courses. Some of them are face-to-face and some of them are online. So it's really, if you're keen and you're really looking to learn a lot, it's definitely a great space to be working in while you're at uni. It's also very flexible, which I didn't put on there. So, we've got some services that a couple of our services do before and after school, but all of them do after school. So you can go to uni in the middle of the day, or you can do your coursework in the middle of the day, and then you go and work, your 4 or 5 hours in the afternoon. It's pretty flexible for people who need that kind of time to do both study and work. If you're interested, please, you can email us your resume at recruitment@childaustralia.org.au, or you could visit our careers page. I think we've got a few vacancies at the moment around Woolagi, Wanguri and Noola. We're looking for a ECT in Nightcliff. So yeah, there's a few current roles that we're recruiting for. But if you send your email, your resume straight to recruitment@Child Australia, then that will come straight through me. And if you say that you were an attendee of today, then we can have a chat around, going forward and what that might look like. So I think I've chatted enough. If there's is there any questions about OSH or what it's like to work in that kind of service area? Yeah, I'm open to kind of having a Q&A if everyone is wanting to ask questions. I'll look in the chat as well, just in case.
This is your chance, guys.
I know it can be a bit overwhelming too. So if you do have questions, please feel free just to ask them in when you send your resume at recruitment@childaustralia.org. Our People and Culture Officer, Trin, is very knowledgeable. And if you would just like to meet a service director and go and have a look at one of our OSHAs, then you're welcome. We can maybe arrange that as well. I'm just reading this question. As new students just starting our early childhood teaching course, is it possible to find work in the ECT field here in Darwin, even without any formal qualifications or certifications? Yes. If yes, is it going to be in an yeah. So it would be in an educator position. You could, if you're just starting out, you would be working towards like a Cert 3, I believe. If you don't have any prior, if you don't have any priors, like if you haven't done a Cert 3 or a diploma, if you've done a diploma, then you can probably be counted as an ECT earlier on. But no, for your, if you've just started and you haven't got any prior, then it would just be an educator. So, Khan, if you want to email that recruitment@childaustralia.org.au, and I'd be happy to have a chat with you about your application, and maybe we can kind of give you some pointers of what way you could go. If it was for an early childhood teaching position, that could be potentially why. I think somebody else is writing a question as well. But that it also depends, Khan, where you wanted to work. If you wanted to work in an ELC or an OSH, I think the OSH services are more likely to take people on with different qualifications than an ELC. The ELCs are a bit stricter in that way. I'll just wait for Kasam to finish.
I will. Sorry. Yeah.
I suppose I can, while I'm waiting for the next question, I can just quickly touch on a little bit about resumes. So most of the recruiters these days use applicant tracking systems, and your resume really is it's really important to make sure that you're targeting your resume for the roles that you're wanting. So a little bit of a tip there is look into the job ad and see what phrases the advertisers using, and kind of tailor your resume to that job ad. It can be very time consuming, but you're more likely to get progressed because you'll get a higher score out of that, AI generated applicant tracking system. Now, we do screen every resume anyway, but you'll always screen the ones with a higher percentage first. So having a good match, having good keyword matching will make sure that you have a higher percentage rate to have your resume screened. Um, are there any opportunities available to gain experience or get involved in the field as in social work? That would probably be on a case-by-case basis. I wouldn't say there's not. I think it would just depend on whereabouts you are located. I think that potentially our services in Alice Springs would potentially have more capacity for those sorts of prac opportunities. So yeah, once again, just send us an email at recruitment@Child Australia, and I'll be happy to kind of chat to you more about that. Would an international clinical psychology bachelor's degree be eligible? I've done work with children with special needs placements in undergrad. Yes, especially, there are some of our services that require people with that kind of skill set, working with children with sometimes diverse needs or challenging behaviours. So I would say, once again, if you're looking at that's your background, make sure that you are reading the advertisement and making sure that you've kind of highlighted in that what in the advertisement your clinical psychology bachelor's degree can bring to that role. It might not necessarily be the traditional, I've worked with children in an OSH setting, but I have worked with a range of children with diverse needs. So just wording it a bit differently so the applicant tracker can pick that up. And yeah, so we have, like I said, we do have a cluster of services that are kind of more in the central Darwin space, I suppose. So we have our services. There's Anula, Wanguri, Willagi, Wagaman, Nightcliff. I'm gonna forget some, I think. So that's like the more central cluster, and then we've got three services in the Palmerston area. So we've got Palmerston, Farrer, and Grey, and then we have our service in Alice Springs. So yeah, there's hopefully opportunity for everybody. If it's not, looking in paid capacity, then prac would also probably be available as well. So yeah, if you're interested, just email that recruitment@childaustralia.org.au, and I'll make sure that Trin and myself can kind of filter through those emails in the next couple of days. But thank you very much for listening. I know there's probably quite a lot of content. So I will share the slides as well, and I will share the training we're doing next week, because that would be beneficial for anybody who's interested in child safety to kind of log on online and join that discussion.
This is amazing. Thank you so much, Crystal.
Thank you.
No problem. Is it okay if I can ask one question on behalf of the students? So we provide, career support in terms of, CV, cover letter, workshops, and we have got career chat sessions. And I'm always very curious whenever there is an employer session. I try to get as much as information possible from
Mhm.
the employers and whoever doing the recruitment, and some top tips
Mm.
about the job application. So you'll receive maybe hundreds of application, or there might be 10 or
Mhm.
20,
Mhm.
but how students can stand out when they have all the same kind of degrees. So they're coming out of maybe enrolled in the same degree, but how
Mhm.
to stand out in that list of applications.
Yeah, so I guess if you're looking at child-related work, most of the time you have either there's a reason why you're interested in child-related work, or you've had previous experience in child-related work, potentially like in I think some of them have said that they've moved to Australia, so it might be in other countries you've had um, child-related work. So I think the top um, cues for us as such um, is if you have specifically done any child related units, potentially if you've put, I'm studying a Bachelor of Social Work, my major is in, child development, child and families studies, and then maybe list the child related units that you've completed. That would be one way. The other way is always put your experience, even if it isn't in Australia, because any experience with children is counted as experience with children. The other thing, I suppose, on a more broad um, for a formatting type um, tip is try keep it as simple as possible. A lot of applicant tracking systems don't like a lot of formatting in the document. They don't like the fancy, unless it's like a PDF. So if it's a PDF, it generally is okay. But yeah, making sure that it's just legible, clear. You could even put your objective, why you want to work with children, and that then, if you haven't got the experience, then at least we understand your desire and where that's kind of coming from.
Thank you so much.
I mean, I'm happy
Um,
to also kind of do like a little
mm,
bit of a tip sheet and send that
mhm.
over to you as well.
Yeah, I mean that would be really good. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna send everyone who has attended the session
Hmm.
the link to the recording as well, so that they can
Great.
go through it again, and the uh, resources that you're gonna send to us.
Yep. Yep. That'd be great. I
Oh,
can probably send them by end of day tomorrow.
no problem at all. Thank you so much, Crystal, for your time
Thank you. It
today.
was lovely having a chat, and yeah, hopefully speak to a couple of you soon.
Yes, and thank you so much, everyone, for joining.
Thank you.
Hope to see you all again in our next employer session. See ya.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.